GT Series Asia touches down in Sepang this weekend. It's a 6-event, 12-race calendar across 4 countries. And with 29 cars and 10 brands on the grid, it's time to go racing.
Hello and welcome. This is the Blancpain GT Series Asia coming to you for race 2 of event 1 right here at Sepang International Circuit. I'm here with David Allison, our commentator. It's turned it up for us.
Has it ever? It is a very hot day indeed. The drivers yesterday for race 1 were at the end of the afternoon. We'd had some rain, that took a bit of the humidity away, but now we're approaching lunchtime and the temperatures are probably as hot as they have been all weekend. And the starting driver, of course, is going to have to get strapped into the car, come to the grid and then sit there for a quarter of an hour with the countdown and then do a slow installation lap and then go racing. So the start driver is really going to feel the heat. But we're going to feel the heat because we've got 29 cars on the grid and a great racing prospect.
I'm looking forward to it. Race 1 yesterday was full of some fantastic moves. What was your takeaway?
Well, it was a surprise winner in a sense because you had so many potential combinations you couldn't really predict which one was going to do it. And what it was interesting to see was that Group M elected in the winning Mercedes to change tyres, change rear tyres in the pit stop. So they had fresher rubber and therefore were more competitive in the second part of the race, and other teams will have learned from that. So today they may not have that same advantage. Everybody learned a little bit by one other team's gamble, and it was a gamble that paid off. But the battle we had, Martin Kodrich against Patrick Niederhauser for the best part of quarter of an hour, nose to tail, side by side, GT racing at its best.
GT racing at its best right here at Sepang. Your thoughts on the track?
Brilliant place. I mean, the teams love coming here. It's one of that modern generation of Formula One circuits that was designed by Hermann Tilke with amazing facilities. You know, it's not an airfield converted into a racetrack, purpose-built. It's a shame F1 doesn't come here anymore, but GT teams love coming here, and it's a great circuit. It's got fast bits, it's got overtaking opportunities, it's got technical bits. Love it to bits, and it's nice and hot as well.
Nice and hot. Enjoy your day today. Thank you very much. Now, one guy who has the home favorite and maybe the home advantage is Alex Young. This is him on his track talk.
Hi, I'm Alex Young, Phoenix Racing Asia and 3-time Cup champion. Welcome to my circuit spotlight here at my home track in Sepang. So when you start the race, you come down here into turn 1, and this is the first of 5 exciting parts of the track I wanted to highlight. It's a massive long straight for turn 1, 1.1 kilometers, and a GT3 car does about 250, 260 kilometers here. There's always a lot of excitement here, lots of action, lots of bumping, especially on the first lap. Second point of interest is the fastest part of the track. It's turn 5 and 6. You can see the turn 5 in the background. It's fast, it's sweeping, it's 4th gear, 200 kilometers per hour. You try and go through here without any braking, just lift off the throttle ever so slightly, and then you try and squeeze back full throttle before turn 6. You can see it bleeds straight into a right-hander, turn 6 here. When you get this right, your heart is just pumping. It's so much fun. So the third point of interest has to be turn 9. So much action happens here, so much overtaking and coming together. But to overtake here, you have to be fast through turn 8. We always see cars coming together into this corner. It's a great place to watch. The fourth most exciting feature of this track is the sequence of corners. You see turn 12 in the distance over there. It's a very fast left-hander which goes straightly into turn 13, another very fast right-hander. But then it bleeds straight into turn 14, which tightens up so much. But in my opinion, this is the toughest corner on the track to get right. The last exciting feature on this track is actually the last corner because there's so much overtaking here. There's a massive kilometer straight that leads onto it and a massive kilometer straight that leads out of it. So you always see drivers jockeying for position through here. And the drivers who are most creative with those lines as they try and overtake are normally the ones that come off best. So those are my 5 highlights of Sepang. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have.
After an incredible first season, Blancpain GT Series Asia returns to Sepang, where it all began to do it even better. 29 teams are slated to get things going in the season opener, as 58 drivers from 19 different nationalities all trying to make their mark. Now, as the championship's grown, so too has the number of manufacturers. 10 brands will be represented here, and this is the first time we'll see full season entries from Japan, Australia, Korea, and Taiwan.
Yeah, I think we all know Blancpain GT Series Asia is the most competitive and most well-known race series in Asia now. So I think it's important to bring my team here to have experience to race against with all top team here in Asia. So I think it's a big step for us. We got new sponsors, and they are pushing me to switch to different manufacturers. So I think it's also a good challenge for us to try working with Ferrari more. So I think it's a pretty good change.
It's always special racing at home. You know, Sepang's a great track. Just love driving here. We've got a new co-driver, Kyung Wee. He's only been racing 2 years. But for a guy that's only been racing 2 years, he's really, really good. Every time he goes out, he goes faster and faster. I'm a Gold driver. I have to be partnered with a bronze driver, and the way it is, there aren't that many bronze drivers in Asia. It's tricky. It's hard to get the same consistency, you know, because the AMs they don't race for a living, you know. So it's tricky to get that consistency throughout the whole year. So I mean, we finished on the podium a few times, but it wasn't quite what we wanted.
Raffaello, talk to me about Blancpain GT Series Asia. You've been here before. What's your experience been like, and what's it like to come back for more?
Yeah, it's really good to be here. I will do all the season except Thailand, so I'm really happy to be here. The championship is really good. Group M Racing is a good team. I did with them last year this race. The Mercedes AMG it's really a good car, so I can't complain about that. Yeah, it was a good lap, but I mean, we can still improve it. It's only free practice, so there is still work to do, but I mean, it's a good start.
You come into this second year as the defending champion. Give me a bit of a comment on about what that means to be the GT4 champion.
Well, the pressure is on. There were 3 other manufacturers joining us this year, which is a very good thing. But that means the competition is very fierce with some really good drivers. We are still a bit short of pace, but you never know with a 1-hour race, and we see how the tire degradation will do and the heats and everything else. We just got to keep scoring points every single round, because last year we missed 1 round and still came out on top, which is quite lucky. So we're just gonna keep our head down, keep it cool, and not trying to do anything stupid, and just keep scoring the points.
So some powerhouses return and some brand new teams join the fray. With some spanking new livery and interesting lineups, we're all set for an incredible season ahead.
An incredible race ahead, that is for sure. The grid is forming. Temperatures, I tell you, have absolutely rocketed. Friday, when there was free practice, was a very hot day. Yesterday, a bit more overcast, still very humid, and we had some very heavy rain mid-afternoon. But this is blisteringly hot out there, and it's going to be a real test of everybody, whether they're a pro or an AM, being in the car for the opening stint for such a long period of time. And although when the cars are moving, there are vents, and therefore some hot air gets in, and it does waft around a little bit. With 43.9 degrees as the track temperature, never mind the air temperature, it is desperately hot out there. And as I say, it is going to be a real challenge, especially for the AMs, who don't spend as much time in a gym because they've all got businesses to run. One driver who is new to the championship this season is Bryce Bosey. He will start from the front row, or at least his car with, thanks to Raffaele Marcialo's time. Bryce Bosey drove yesterday. They were third, the pair of them, and Bryce Bosey is on the grid with Renai.
Bryce Bosey, nice place to be starting from.
2. Yeah.
Front row.
Yeah, P2 is first row is always good. I mean, yesterday start from row 3 was a little bit shaky up there in the first corner, but yeah, from first row we're hoping to get trouble-free through lap 1, and then yeah, maybe have some good strategy, and we go.
So we know that Marciello had a very intense battle for this pole position, actually, with Josh. Is that going to translate into the race today?
Yeah, actually, he's even more motivated being P2 than P1 because he was convinced that P1 was for him, and yeah, so today he wants to show everyone that that P1 is for him.
Okay, all the best today. There you go, David.
Raffaele Marciello will start. He was on pole position for much of the session, but Josh Burden, the man that pipped him right at the very end, and he therefore will start from pole. Who is Josh Burden, you might ask? Well, he's a name well known in Australian racing, having been a very impressive young racer for the last few seasons, not perhaps well known in Europe, but Josh Burden started as a karter, aged 8, comes from Hobart, and a third-generation racer, it's in his blood, came through the Aussie racing cars, which if you equate it to European racing are a bit like Legends or Midjet, and then went through Australian Formula 3, Asian V8 champion, Asian Formula Renault champion, Josh Burden, the man on pole position. Let's go back to Renai.
Josh Burden, you are the man to beat today. A great qualifying from you.
Yeah, it was a great qualifying session. It's been a great weekend, our debut weekend, absolute racing. I'm not sure if we're going to be the man to beat today. The hotter, sunny conditions isn't normally fitted towards our car this weekend. The AMG next to us is really fast. It's got a lot of power out of the corners, so it's going to be interesting into turn 1. But yeah, I'm here to win and here to hand over the car in first place, so I'm going to put up a fight.
Okay, speaking of that, AMG, Raffaello was the one that beat you, pipped for this. Yeah. It was very close.
Yeah, it was close. To some degree, it was still 3.5 tenths, so it's still quite a long way. It worked for us in the qualifying session, but hopefully we can turn it across and take that advantage into a race car in these different conditions.
All the best today.
So that's Josh Burden, who you will see in the pole position car very shortly, and he has raced in this region in things like the Gulf 12 Hours over in Abu Dhabi, but in the Asian Le Mans series, in which he was a runner-up in the 17-18 season. So Josh Burden, the coming man from Australia. And it's interesting, isn't it, how more and more Australian names are coming into Asian racing, not necessarily to Europe anymore, as it used to be the case, but into the Asian market, and we've seen a few of them already this weekend in the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, for example, one of the support races here. So it's a 29-car grid. It's 10 different brands represented across the grid, and it's not just GT3. There's GT4 as well, which really has, not just in this championship, but globally, come of age this season with very, very strong entries, and more manufacturers coming in, realising they can sell cars. And that's going to be a great battle that we'll touch on with Porsche, McLaren, Mercedes and BMW all going head-to-head. Well, yesterday it was a win for the Grupper M racing team. Let's have a look at how Patrick Niederhauser and Nico Bastien came out on top. When the lights went green at the very last second, that slightly outfoxed the drivers on the front row of the grid. It meant that Leo Yi in the Ferrari was a bit slow away, and Dennis Lind, the race leader from pole position, managing to hang on to that advantage all the way down to turn 1. But up the inside in the silver Mercedes, Nico Bastien on the outside, Aditya Patel got a little rub, and the blue and red Audi drifted out wide. Patel on the back foot going through the first couple of corners, but he fought back, and it wasn't long before he made his move up the curb on the inside to go through on the inside of Leo Yi in the Ferrari. However, there was drama for the Audi. A water pipe burst, sent the car early to the pit lane and into retirement. The Aston Martin of Rick Yoon had an incident on the first lap. Andrew McPherson's Lamborghini had a spin, and as the pit window opened, in with a flourish came Nico Bastien. Grupper M putting new tyres on the car, and that paid dividends because straight away Patrick Niederhauser was able to lap faster than the race leader Dennis Lind, and therefore bring down the gap against Martin Kodrich in the second stint as battles raged on in GT4. Porsche versus BMW, illustrating how competitive it is and how the manufacturers have embraced the new class. Out on track, Nick Foster was about to lose out to the charging Niederhauser as he went storming through. And in GT4, last year's champions Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu were occupied trying to catch a class-leading Mercedes that was looking very good indeed in the hands of Russell Ward and Reinhold Renger. The two race leaders ran nose to tail, and eventually Niederhauser started to get more and more ambitious in his moves. He tried to outfox Martin Kodrich coming into turn 15, but eventually the move would come coming through turns 6 and 7. He tried pretty much everywhere else, including this move at turn 1, where the two ran side by side, but with the inside line for turn 2, Kodrich was able to hang on in there. They got nose to tail in the last 15 minutes. Only with 6 minutes to go did this happen. Round the outside, Niederhauser, there was a brush between the two. Both got sideways, but Niederhauser was coming through. Delight at Grupper M. And once ahead, there was no heading the Swiss driver. Patrick Niederhauser ran out a winner. Third, and to win Pro-Am, Raffaele Marciello and Bryce Bosey, and a win in GT4 for Russell Ward and Reinhold Renger, all run by the Gruppe M racing team. It was the day of days for the British squad, and even though the GT4 winning car was given a 30-second penalty for a safety car infringement, it didn't affect its class result. So, Mercedes to the fore yesterday. What will we have today? 5 minutes to go before the start of the formation lap. A very colourful grid, a very busy grid, with the teams, the VIPs, the grid girls down there, and lots of press as well. And this opening race for Blancpain GT Series Asia, a championship that you kind of forget is only in its second season, because last year was such a strong debut season, and this year many new teams, lots of new drivers, and some intriguing faces on the grid as well. You've got, for example, Tim Slade from Australian Supercars, who has joined the championship this season, and you've got some returning drivers as well, and some of whom are switching cars. One of whom going from Porsche to Mercedes for this year is the redoubtable Ringo Chong. He's in GT4, he's on the grid with Renai.
Ringo Chong, always a pleasure to talk to you. Pole position is a great place for you to start.
Definitely. Gilles did very well for yesterday's qualifying, and he put himself in pole. Hopefully he will make a big gap so that when I jump in the car it will be much more relaxing and the rest can chase me, and I hope to finish P1 today.
Now, we noticed that you've changed into the Mercedes. Is it different? How does it feel?
It's a totally different car, big engine in the front, but the BOP makes it very balanced so that all the cars are about the same performance.
Very happy.
Very happy with the overall weekend. It's an amazing show, and Blancpain GT Asia is it's amazing. You always see the best cars and the best drivers around, and this is the championship to be in.
Awesome, thank you very much, Ringo. Back to you, David, the championship to be in.
There you go, we're in the right place, aren't we? Third in class yesterday, Ringo Chong. And Gilles Vannelet, who is, if you go back quite a long time, European GT3 champion, raced in the French GT4 series last year and thought, go and explore some new circuits, so he's come to Asia and he will race a Mercedes. Mercedes provides the safety car as well, which we did use yesterday. There was an early incident. We had, just for the purposes of record, 1 safety car period and 2 full course yellow periods yesterday, so it was a busy old race, and there the safety car is poised. It, of course, will lead the field around. We've got 3 minutes to go to the start now, and they're trying to get some cool air into Mitch Gilbert's car. The WRT engineers, it was OD racing with Absolute last year, it's OD racing with WRT for this season. And Vincent Voss's squad operating the car, and yesterday a very rare failure. This water pipe burst and sent the car early in the race into retirement, and nul point for Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert, who were the runners-up in the championship last season. They expected to be strong this year. They did not expect to be coming into this on the back foot, having given away points. Now, one other thing, just very quickly, that we need to get out of the way before the race does start, is that you have the 25 to 35 minute pit window. But also, you've got cars now with differing pit stop times. It's 90 seconds for a GT3 pit stop, and it's 125 for a GT4. But then you have to start thinking about the top 3 yesterday. So, number 999 gets an extra 15 seconds in the pit lane as the winning car. Number 19, Lamborghini, gets 10, and the Mercedes you've just seen there, 888, gets 5 seconds. In GT4, yesterday's winner, 666 Mercedes, that gets 15 seconds. Same principle applies here. 77, Jean-Marc Main and Frank Yu, they get 10. And 72, Ringo Chong, Gilles Vannelet, gets 5 seconds. So it's not just as straightforward as looking at the gaps before the pit stop. You've got to factor in these gaps as well as we get set then for round 2 of Blancpain GT Series Asia. This promises to be a very spectacular race indeed. It's 1 hour. There is now 1 minute to go, and the grid starts to be cleared. Engines will fire up, doors closed, the drivers left sweating in the cockpits, ready for the opening stint of this hour-long race. Sepang, 15 corners, 5.5 kilometres long, tight first hairpin, drop downhill, fast section up to a heavy braking zone. Then you wriggle your way through into the start of Sector 2. There's a tight left at Turn 9, climb uphill, 2 long straights towards the end of the lap. It's a circuit which doesn't have too many physical demands on the drivers, but it is a very difficult lap nonetheless. And the grid is cleared, and we are ready to go for this second race of the weekend. Grid formed, the safety car peels away, and the idea, of course, is that the cars are held on the grid for a little time so they can accelerate and catch up to it, and therefore get some warmth through tyres and get pressures up and get the brake temperature up as well, and dissipate the brake temperature through into the tyres. Everybody away, looking down onto the grid. I can't see anybody with any problems, although there is a yellow flag waving, suggesting that the Honda in the background, the Honda NSX, doesn't want to get going, and the danger there is that if it doesn't get away, Jackie Young will have to start at the very back of the grid. Pole position, Josh Burden, Raffaele Marciello lining up alongside him. Second row is Tsugiya Matsuda in the Nissan, with Franki Chang's car started by Martin Rump alongside the third row. You're going to have Nick Foster starting in the Ferrari. Patrick Niederhauser's Mercedes will be alongside. And then on the fourth row, yesterday's runners-up, Martin Kodrich and Dennis Lind. Kodrich starts, and alongside Adli Fong in the Absolute Racing Audi. On the fifth row, Marco Mappelli's Lamborghini will go first, and Tim Slade, he is alongside the supercar racer, partnering Maurice Chen for Ferrari. Row 6, Mitch Gilbert's Audi, and alongside is Daisuke Aito, starts the ARN Racing Ferrari. Florian Strauss next on the grid for Nissan, and another of the many Audi R8s, Alex Young, the local hero behind the wheel. 15th on the grid is where you find the Porsche of Sandy Stuvik, and the Mercedes from Indigo Racing, started by Rudolf Browns alongside. On the 9th row for KCMG, it is Takuya Shirosaka and the experienced Darrell O'Young with his Porsche lining up alongside the Craft Bamboo cars, just struggling for pace this weekend. Ben Porter, another encouragingly quick Australian driver, is next for Andrew McPherson's Lamborghini team. Adrian De Silva's Aston Martin alongside, ahead of what should have been the Honda of Jackie Young. That, I think, might have to start from the back of the grid now. Alongside is Gilles Vanderlei, then it's Reinhold Renger and Sonako Jukusho, the Japanese driver in the BMW, next. You go to Mok Wang-sun's McLaren and Jean-Marc Merlin's Porsche on the 13th row. The 14th row has Max Chen's BMW and Masahiko Ida's Porsche Cayman, and the last car on the grid is another of the Porsche Caymans, driven by Tony Fong, partnered by Brian Lee. That's your grid, 29 cars, 10 brands, 2 categories, GT3 and GT4, plus you've got a Pro-Am and an Am competition within GT3. GT4 is all about AMs, and so we are in for another storming race, that's for certain. The cars you can see, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Audi, Ferrari, Nissan, a wonderful assortment, Mercedes in the background as well. The GT4 promising to be as competitive as GT3. It's growing all the time in this championship and globally. So let's have a look at the cars then as they work their way onto this straight up to turn 15. With the Aston Martin, the yellow and green and orange Aston, in the hands there of Adrian De Silva. The Honda has taken back its grid position, interestingly. Normally, if you're last away and everybody's gone past you, you have to start at the back, but the Honda has slotted into position. So we'll see if the officials are content with that, as the cars now get themselves in this 2x2 Noah's Ark formation. A little weave there from Josh Burden, the pole man, just making sure that the tyres are at the temperature he wants them to be. 60 minutes of racing, mandatory pit stops, success pit stops to factor in as well today. So hold on to your hats, because Blancpain GT Series Asia gave us a storming opener yesterday. Expect nothing less today. 60 minutes of absolutely flat-out GT3 racing as the cars work their way up towards the lighting gantry. The light's on red at the moment, will go to green if the race director is happy. They do, and away they go, and diving out from behind on the third row, Nick Foster gets a face full of Martin Rump. To the inside line goes Tsugiya Matsuda in the Nissan. He gets a face full of Josh Burden, who moves across to defend, and that leaves the door wide open for Raffaele Marciello round the outside of the Mercedes to take the lead. Marciello leads into turn 1, dives through round the outside, scrabbles towards an apex, finds it, leads downhill, and look at second place, still side by side. Nick Foster tries to get up round the outside, loses out, gets muscled out wide all over the dirt. So Burden is second, Matsuda is third, and very wide indeed goes Martin Rump, and also delayed is Patrick Niederhauser. Two quick drivers then in strife, and has Niederhauser got a problem? The Mercedes, look in the background, he's losing place after place. Something may have developed for the winning car of yesterday, going through the first couple of corners, because 999 may have an emergency here. It is dropping away as the leaders swoop through turn 5 for the first time of asking. Yesterday we had 3 interruptions through safety cars and yellow flags, but so far so good. It's green on the opening lap, and Raffaele Marciello is getting away, and don't forget he has got an extra 5 seconds in the pits, so he needs to be leading by more than 5 seconds to try to preserve that into the second stint. And also Gripper M proved yesterday that it's adept
at changing tyres rapidly within the stops as well. So he can push hard, change tyres, and then co-driver Bryce Bosey can push hard in the second stint if that's the game plan. But look in the traffic, where is the winning car of yesterday? Where is 999? Nowhere to be seen, so big problems early on for Patrick Niederhauser. The lead car, 888, Raffaele Marciello, plunges downhill. We get in for the whole championship bar Thailand this year. Thailand is the next venue, then it's 2 trips to Japan and 2 to China. Hard on the brakes, into turn 14 they come for the first time. So Raffaele Marciello leading the way, trying to break clear of Josh Burton in second place, and that's the reason for the problem. It's a punctured tyre, possibly contact through turns 1 and 2. Patrick Niederhauser limping back. Oh, it's more than a puncture, it's damaged bodywork as well, so clearly there was contact, and Niederhauser's desperation now is to stay on the lead lap. Out of turn 15 come the leaders. Martin Kodrich there ahead of Alex Young, ahead of the Tim Slade yellow Ferrari at the inside behind is Daisuke Aito in the red Ferrari trying to gain ground. The leader though already blasting clear, 2.9 seconds. Marciello to Josh Burden, the pole man. He is under attack from Sugio Matsuda, and look at the line all queued up behind. 4th is Nick Foster Ferrari, 5th Marco Bappelli there in the Lamborghini looking to the inside. 6th Adami Fong Audi, 7th Kodrich Lamborghini, 8th Young Audi, 9th Slade Ferrari, 10th Strauss Nissan. They pour downhill for the second time. Lead gap 2.9 seconds. GT4 at the end of the opening lap of the race being led by Reinhold Renger in the winning car of yesterday, but remember that gets an extra 15 seconds in the pits, and Patrick Niederhauser has not yet got back into the pits. So 999, the Mercedes limping round. He doesn't want to do any damage, but he doesn't want to go so slowly that he drops off the lead lap. The question is not just whether they need to change a tyre, that can be done quickly, but whether or not the car has got damaged bodywork and damaged suspension, and whether it's going to be a lengthy stop for that reason. So the sister car, way clear at the moment. Raffaele Marciello pushing. Bryce Bosey, new to Blancpain GT Series Asia, but no stranger to endurance racing, raced in the 24-hour series, the Cravancic Run series for the last couple of years. There behind is Josh Burden running second, Sugio Matsuda third in the Nissan. So the experienced double Formula Nippon champion, runner-up in Super GT with good results. He's been the champion in Super GT 2014 as well with Ronnie Quintarelli. Sugio Matsuda pushing hard as there. Niederhauser limps in, and he'll go a lap down, I'm afraid, because the Mercedes has had such a long run from turn 3 to the pit lane that he's about to drop a lap against the race leaders. So totally contrasting fortunes. A great win yesterday and big disappointment on the opening lap of the race today. So there the car stops. The team will go to work to change the tyre and the wheel, but the other inspection is about suspension, about any damage mechanically within that corner. And here come the race leaders off turn 15 up towards the timing line. So Raffaele Marciello leads the way. The gap was 2.9 seconds. Is it up? Let's see. Over the line he now goes, and it is 3.4 seconds to Josh Burden. Sugio Matsuda goes through third, Nick Foster fourth. Things calming down a little. 5th Mappelli, 6th Fong, 7th is Kodrich, 8th is Young. And although they are working on the Mercedes, as soon as you've lost a lap, very hard to claw back anything remotely like a good result here. Martin Rump, who was also delayed early on, and I wonder whether he got involved in that skirmish. He has just got 12th place away from Mitch Gilbert. So there is Gilbert in the red and blue Audi, just at the back of the shot coming downhill. The Audi's not, apart from Josh Burden's car, really showing the pace you might have anticipated this weekend. So we've got the race leaders then on to lap number 3. There is the GT4 battle, and it's a change of lead back again, because Reinhold Renger, who had dropped back behind Gilles Vannelet, has just got back through at turn 1. But look at this, 5 of them in a line for the GT class lead. They're completely different speed and different spec from GT3. They look far more standard. You'll see when we get to Lapri, when a GT3 and a GT4 Mercedes run side by side, how different they look. But back into the lead of the class goes yesterday's winner, Reinhold Renger. They were given a time penalty for a safety car infringement yesterday, but they kept the win, and Renger now is ahead of Gilles Vannelet. Third behind them is the best of the BMWs there, which is in the hands of Sunaka Yukisho, and then for 4th is the McLaren, Mokwen Sun at the wheel of it, ahead of Jean-Marc Merlin in the Porsche Cayman. So you've got then 4 different brands in the top 5 within GT4. And the Porsche Cayman, that was very much the car to beat last year, struggling a little bit now against these new cars that have arrived on the scene. The McLaren came to Fuji last year, remember, and won both races. But Mercedes and BMW have raised the bar even higher for this season. Down towards turn 9 they go. And so now that he's ahead again, can the experienced Reinhold Renger get away. He was racing in the late 90s in things like the VLN, and as he goes up towards turn 12, the overall race leader is just across the line. Josh Burden second, and they're out of the car, Patrick Niederhauser. That looks like game over, doesn't it? Yeah, car pushed away, so a punctured tyre, damage to the suspension, damage to the bodywork, and a win and a retirement make it a very different weekend, one race to the other. Much yellow to Burden, 3.4 seconds up front. Sugio Matsuda still running in third place. The Formula Nippon champion in fourth is Nick Foster, moving away from Porsche to Ferrari for this season. In fifth place, Marco Mappelli, and sixth is Adley Fong. And there is Raffaele Marciello, conscious that he's got to make an extra 5-second pit stop. 10 seconds extra for Kodrich, down in seventh place. Forget the 15, because Patrick Niederhauser is going to spend the race in the pit lane, never mind just an extra 15 seconds. So Marciello now has one job, and that's to build up the lead. He's shaken off the traffic, and so now he's got to do a stint full of consistent, neat, smooth and very quick, almost qualifying style laps here. Up they come towards turn number 9 through that left-hander. They're in third place, Sugio Matsuda in the Nissan, dropping back a little bit now, but not yet into the clutches of Nick Foster. Let's try and find out more about Patrick Niederhauser's travails. Renai has caught up with him in the pits.
Patrick, now that's going to be disappointing. What happened?
Yeah, everything was quite tight at the start. I think to have 4 cars in one corner next to each other was a little bit tight. So yeah, I was quite in front in the first corner, but I felt a hit on the rear left, which I couldn't do really anything about it. And then immediately into the second corner, I felt that I have a flat tire. Just tried to survive somehow and trying to get back to the pits, but now the damage is too big, unfortunately, so we have to retire. Really shame.
Thank you for talking to us. I really appreciate that. Dave, back to you.
Thanks, Renai. So the incident at turn 2 is under investigation from the start. We're looking at GT4 still. Mercedes 1-2. The McLaren and Porsches now just dropping back a little bit. 4th and 5th, Mok Weng Sun and Jean-Marc Merlin. But it's where you are at the end of the hour that matters, as Patrick Niederhauser can confirm. So for the moment, Reinhold Renger it is that leads the way, coming up now through turn 12. This is in GT4, the former German touring car challenge racer. On track though here for the Ferrari Lamborghini battle, 4th overall. Nick Foster keeping at bay for the moment at least. Marco Mappelli, who is crawling all over the back of him. Marco Mappelli trying to find a way through every which way, powering his way up now towards turn 4, heavy braking zone. You can overtake here if you are really brave. Single-seater drivers this weekend have been trying around the outside even. Mappelli to the inside line at 5. Yes, is there a gap? Not quite. He moved across, had a good thing about it, but Nick Foster, who really shone last year in Porsches, whether it was in the WEC or in this championship, managing to fend him off, and they're both being caught now by Adley Fong. That gap's coming down as they run up towards turns 7 and 8. We've done nearly the first 10 minutes of the race, and this battle going on for 4th place, holding up the drivers involved to the tune of allowing Fong to close, and Kodrich in the background will be inching up onto the back of them as well in the car he shares with Dennis Lind. So Marco Mappelli, that record holder around the Nordschleifer in a road car, in a Lamborghini of course, comes through on the tail here of Nick Foster for 4th place up the road. Matsuda is getting away 3rd, Burden 2nd, and the fastest lap of the race done by the race leader Raffaele Marciello in the lead. Downhill they plunge once more towards turn 13. And now the hairpin back onto the power and along this straight, nice fast straight, at the end of which the drivers are approaching something in the region of 235, 240 kilometres an hour. That is how fast it is. But then, of course, you've got the heavy braking zone for the final hairpin, and that braking zone staggers back as the cars brake go off and the race wears on. Challenge made on the inside by Mappelli. Foster fends him off as they come up towards the line now. Through they come. Race leader, 27, Nick Foster. 2nd, tucked up behind him in the Lamborghini. 2nd, apologies, 5th behind him, Marco Mappelli, 2nd in this battle. And they go through with Adley Fong also having got some damage from the opening laps of the race. They're in 6th place. At the inside line goes Mappelli. There's a gap. He's on the curb. There's a nudge, and the Foster Ferrari gets tagged sideways. 1 place lost as through goes Marco Mappelli. Turn 1 is always a pinch point, whether it's the opening lap or any lap, given if you're having a battle. And Marco Mappelli, with just a tiny touch, enough to unsettle the Ferrari, has gone through. Here's the replay. He dives up the inside
and wait for the nudge. There it is. Enough to get the Ferrari sideways. Foster caught it well, but the damage is done. And now Adley Fong comes up to have a go at Nick Foster as well. Couldn't do it on the outside at turn 4, but Pelly is away and gone. Fong looking for a way past Foster. Martin Coldridge running 7th, catching up as well, taking Alex Young with him. 9th is Tim Slade, 10th is Martin Rump. And this is GT4, where it's still 3 for the lead. It was 5 a couple of laps back, but the Mercedes-BMW battle has rather gapped the opposition now. Whoops, way up the curb there goes Renga Reinhold. That gives Gilles Vanelay the chance to challenge on the run along the pit straight. Through they come together, and Vanelay, experienced driver, to the inside. See how wide the pit straight is. The Porsches are at play, and a good little scrap here at the back of the pack with the sort of Martini liveried car. Number 17 going through there, which is Masahika Ida, gaining a place away from Tony Fong. GT4, great entry-level class into GT racing, and the grid's rising all the time. I think long-term it might be that with certain championships on separate races, GT3 and GT4, because there are so many cars in Europe. The standalone GT4 series are full to the ginnels these days, and it's only a matter of time, I think, before yet more cars and more teams come across into this with GT4 machinery. But long live GT3 as well, still a hugely competitive and spectacular class. It's had a resurgence in the UK in the British Championship this season, and what a grid we've got here of star cars and star drivers. Back ahead of Ida goes Fong then. This is the fight not to be last, and it's as fierce a fight as you'll find anywhere. Tony Fong in the silver and green Cayman, back ahead now of Masahika Ida as they come through. So the two of them nose to tail, they're trading places corner after corner. Masahika Ida has another look up the inside line. A little bit wide and deep up the curb goes Tony Fong, but he's able to cut across and cover the line. Very spectacular liveries many of the teams run in Asia, and that Porsche showing one of them with the green and silver colours. To the inside line this time though goes the Taiwan Top Speed Racing team car, but Ida can't find a way back through. There, Adley Fong, 6th place. Remember, many years of him racing in the UK, British Formula 3 for example, but it's in the last few years as a GT and a sports car driver where he's really started to shine, really developed, and absolute racing. Operating that car, there is Patrick Niederhauser being strapped back in, so work done. Go out and have a few laps, test the car, see how good it is. So he will rejoin the race, but is effectively now 5 laps down. As I say, any good result is out of the question. But if there was Carmageddon around him and he got into the top 10 in the class, he would score points, so perhaps it is worth circulating just in case. So out he goes and joins in, and there you can contrast GT3 and GT4 Mercedes, because he's just dropped behind the GT4 leading trio. So Patrick Niederhauser with that big bite of bodywork taken out of the car, back out onto the circuit. It'll be fascinating now to see what his lap times are, but it'll be bitter gall if he's the quickest man out there, because it will just reinforce what might have been a swoop round the outside of the BMW there. And now have a look up the road, 2 GT4 Mercedes and the GT3 model behind. Martin Rump on the back of Tim Slade here, Supercars racer, versus the very rapid but underrated GT driver Martin Rump, who's an absolute star in the wet, as proved last year at Zhejiang. But the Audis struggling this weekend. They just haven't had the pace, really, of the other brands around them. So Rump still, despite having a very quick co-driver this year in Franki Chang, not making progress. There's Adley Fong running in 6th. The best of the Audis second is Josh Burden, but he's got Anthony Liu with him, who is a quick am. Indeed a winner in this equivalent race last year in a Ferrari with Davide Rizzo, but I just fear that car might drop away in the second stint. So through they turn. This is lap number 8. And where's the next big battle going to come from? It is this between Rump and Slade, with Martin Rump going ahead up into 9th place, coming into turn 4. Place gained, runs it up wide, touches the curb in the Absolute Racing Audi, and sets off in pursuit now of Alex Young, who drives the Phoenix Racing Asia car. There it is in the champion car product delivery up the road, the red and white and black colours. The Honda, incidentally, the Honda NSX, running in 20th place. Jackie Young at the wheel, a car that is very early in its development as a GT3 car. And Honda whilst also trying to address a Formula 1 engine project, has been looking at GT3 racing. The car launched at the Spa 24 Hours last year, and great to have it on the grid here, and it will surely get quicker and quicker as the season goes on and the Arrows racing team develops the car. Raffaele Marciello then leading by 7 seconds. That's enough to keep them in the lead on the pit stops, and then you put Bryce Bosey up against Anthony Liu for the second stint. So the second part of this race is going to be very interesting indeed to see where you get the quick co-drivers in. There's Marciello. So a 7-second lead, but take 5 seconds off through the extra time spent in the pit lane. This circuit with low grip level, it's hard on cars to a degree because of the heavy braking zones, but not that bad through the drivers because you have got these fast flowing sections, less stop-start areas, a couple of hairpins that do tax you, but it's not as arduous as other circuits. Alex Young there going a little bit wide. Over the timing line comes Alex Young now, the former Minardi Grand Prix racer and indeed V8 Supercar racer amongst many, many other categories. And Young running in 8th place, chasing after Martin Kodrich, and last time was fractionally quicker than Kodrich ahead of him. There he is, that's Martin Kodrich, race leader yesterday. Dennis Lind was on pole for yesterday's race and did an absolutely stellar job, hanging on to the advantage throughout the first stint, affected by safety cars and full course yellows. But they were outfoxed really by the strategy of the Mercedes team. No further action warranted contact between Marco Mappelli and Leo Yi at the start. So the stewards have had a look, but no further action to be taken. That was turn 1, lap 1. Raffaele Marciello, though, having a very dominant performance at the moment. Yesterday, he had to play catch-up and storm through the pack. Here, he's away and gone up front, isn't he? Turning his way now up through turns 9 and 10. Oh, so strong as he comes over the brow, drops down the hill once again, out of turn 12 now. Alex Young on the back of Martin Kodrich, Martin Rum on the back of Alex Young, fight on, 7, 8, 9 these places. Simsalay 10th in the yellow Ferrari. It's not quite Super Cheap Autos yellow, but the Supercars racer is there in the mix in the Ferrari, as Rump to the inside of Young, couldn't quite find a way past him. That was at turn 12, and Rump comes off worse, bounces over the curb. Meantime, the race leader in and amongst the traffic now. He's about to lap the BMW there of Zhucasho, and then have a look at a GT4 and a GT3 Mercedes. The GT4 car has a higher ride height, it's narrower, it doesn't have anything like the big rear wing draped off the back, it doesn't have the same noise either, same exhaust system, so it's a different looking car. But it's a nice way of contrasting the two as they run together. There, look, GT4, GT3 down the pit straight. The two Grupper M cars overlap. And through on the inside line goes the big Mercedes, if you like. Niederhauser back into the pit lane. So they've done an exploratory lap, but Patrick Niederhauser back into the pit road. So there you've got the race-leading car of Raffaele Marciello pulling away now from the opposition as Niederhauser back into the pit lane. The gap is up to 8.9 seconds, first to second, and still the team not happy. Still Patrick Niederhauser reporting that all is not well, so he again gets out of the car, and there for second in GT4. Now the effort being made by Yukicho to try and get past Gilles Vanelay, the Mercedes, at turn 5, but no change there, but not for the want of trying. The BMW, new to the championship this season, going very strongly indeed. And Sanako Yukichu, who's raced in Super GT, he's raced in the All Japan Sports Car Endurance Series, an experienced driver, right there on the back of Vanelay, whose CV is also pages long. 20 minutes done, and there behind them, look, is the second place car overall. So Josh Burden now having to try and get through the traffic without losing time against Sugiya Matsuda behind him. And he does get through, and Yukichu tries to follow him. Can't do it. The BMW nosed up the inside, but that did not pay off for him. Ball's back behind then as the cars now accelerate their way once again along to turn 12. Sugiya Matsuda now is the one who's got to try and get through the traffic, and it's tough for the drivers to do this. Both GT3 and GT4. The GT3 problem is you want to get through without losing time, but you don't want to be so gung-ho that you risk the back markers not seeing you and you put yourself in jeopardy. From the GT4 point of view, yes, you want to get out of the way and let the quicker cars go by, but you don't want to compromise your own battle, because if you slow up, the guy behind you in GT4 will suddenly dive past. You're fighting for position as well as trying to be gentlemanly and get out of the way. So Josh Burden through the traffic and now making the run up towards turn 15. There behind, look, is the 18 Nissan. Sugiya Matsuda at the wheel of it, turning through the hairpin, first gear corner. Over the timing line goes Josh Burden. And let's just see this time whether or not that gap has come down at all to the Nissan. It's 1.6 seconds, and the last lap Burden was quicker. Mapelli still 4th. Foster 5th, 6th Adley Fong. In 7th place is Martin Rump, so he's got himself up past Martin Kodrich as well as up past Alex Young. So Martin Rump now is absolutely flying in the number 3 Audi. Martin Rump remains another of those much underrated drivers, the very quick Estonian, but he's gaining ground all the time here. He's a long way back from the overall situation, but he is gaining places. Former Formula Masters China racer. See Adley Fong's Audi in the background there. Coming into shot now is the Audi of Martin Rump, and you look at Adley Fong going through number 7. We've got 38 minutes of the race still to go. The cars sprint their way into turn 5 once again. There's Fong, and there is Martin Rump in the background, number 3. The Estonian driver goes through single-seater racing. Is what he started in up until coming into GT cars really last season in both this and China GT, and he's absolutely flying here. So Rump's last lap was a 2 minutes 6.8. He's quicker than the next 2 or 3 cars ahead of him. More places should fall like wickets here before the end of the stint for Martin Rump. GT4, meantime, the battle has been rather interrupted because, again, with all these quicker cars coming through, and there Alex Young gets up the inside of Kodrich, and so does a very opportunistic Daisuke Aito. 2 places lost there by Kodrich in the traffic. He was delayed and then on the wrong line, so a very good move by Young and a really good move, a great dive by Daisuke Aito. Both of them go through. I was going to say that the GT4 lead battle has really broken up because Reinhold Renger is away and gone. Gilles Vanelay having to get out of the way of all of this traffic. Now, it might be that when they all come across Renger, so he will be delayed, and that will bring back into the mix in GT4 Gilles Vanelay. But for the moment, it's a big gap betwixt the two. Race lead has gone by, 11 laps in the book. Well, we're getting close, of course, now to the pit window opening. So if you've got your slower driver in first, you can expect the car to come in sooner. And there, number 45, class winners yesterday, the Audi. Shirasaka at the wheel for now, ahead of Jean-Marc Merlin in the Porsche from Craft Bamboo Racing. And then you've got the 911 GT3R, the GT3 spec car there in the mix as well, putting the lap on. Now, Merlin is ahead of Motwang Sun. Look in the McLaren. Got the McLaren 570S comes back. The 2 GT4 cars side by side. Motwang Sun on the outside. Jean-Marc Merlin on the inside line as they go through turn 15. What do we see ahead? It was the Porsche on the inside. It was the McLaren on the outside. And as they come now up towards the timing line, Shirasaka goes through ahead of them, ahead of Darrell Young, and Jean-Marc Merlin has stayed ahead of Motwang Sun then to take and keep 4th in GT4, but they're a long way back from the Mercedes-BMW battle that they were with early on, so certainly the German cars, the Mercedes, the BMWs have got the advantage around here. BOP, the balanced performance, of course, is how all the cars are equated, but it's a very difficult thing for anybody to do. Claude Sermon from SRO is the man given the task of doing this, but always have to try to factor in that it's the pure pace of the car. It's not driver pace, it's not the team's ability to operate a car at the highest level, it's what the car is capable of. And although some drivers will always complain they're being hard done by, some drivers are faster than others, no matter what the machinery. There you've got Alex Young being able to, for the moment, fend off Daisuke Aito in the Ferrari, so the Japanese driver running 9th, wanted to be 8th. Kodrich has dropped back into the clutches now of Tim Slade. But the experienced Daisuke Aito doing a good job here in the ARN Racing Ferrari. Hiroaki Nagai to take over from him shortly, because the pit window is imminent. So Kodrich fading a bit towards the end of this stint, and yet that was a car that looked mighty strong at the start of yesterday's race with Dennis Lind at the wheel of it. Downhill they plunge once again. Tim Slade hunting down Kodrich. The leader has just gone across the line there at turn 14, so definitely getting away up front, Raffaele Marciello. So where do we start looking for the next of the quick co-drivers in that second stint? Franki Chang to take over from Martin Rump. How far back are they going to be? Running 7th at the moment. Be interesting to see how this all pans out, won't it? You never know whether or not you might have a safety car in the second part as well. That's something else the teams have got absolutely no say over. Young versus Aito. Over the line they come, and into the pit lane has just come Nick Foster early to put Leo Yi into the car. So with the pit window open, Nick Foster comes in, and so also is coming the Lamborghini of Martin Kodrich. Side by side, Young to the inside line, to the outside line there. Daisuke Aito, is he going to be able to bustle up the inside as they come out of the corner? The answer is no. The line is taken, going downhill. 23 is in. Florian Strauss gives way
to Eduardo Liberati. Interestingly, Mitch Gilbert in very early. The Malaysian driver, perhaps the quicker of the two there, but Aditya Patel put into the car in 86, the WRT1 car. Tyres going for the Audi. Look, number 86. I think tyres, after yesterday's evidence, is the way that most teams are going to go here. There is 666, GT4 leader, Reinhold Renger in. Where's Russell Ward? There he is, terribly nonchalant. So, not entirely sure he was expecting that pit stop. Now, granted, it's 125 seconds for a pit stop in GT4, so you don't have to rush, you don't have to break sweat, but maybe Russell Ward wasn't quite on his toes as he should have been there. In comes number 11, Porsche, for Tony Fong to give way to Brian Lee. And there is the race leader. So, for how long will Raffaele Marciello stay out? He's doing a good job at the moment. Through the left-hander he comes, out of turn 15 and up towards the timing line now. Another lap completed. As he comes over the line, in the pits is the Honda NSX. Jackie Young to give way to Philip Marr. There is in second place Josh Burden, whose apex suggests he's staying out. He is for another lap. So that's the Honda we were talking about. In is Jackie Young. Philip Marr takes over. Over the timing line goes Josh Burden. 13 seconds the margin between the two leading cars now. Sugiya Matsuda is still in touch. Marco Mappelli is there in fourth place. So second, third, fourth very competitive. But the lead gap 13 seconds. Of course loses 5 in that pit stop. So there's Marciello. Behind him, Eduardo Liberati a lap down. Mitch Gilbert a lap down in the Audi there after his stop. And it should be Dennis Lynn, should it not? Next, yep, there he is, number 19 going through. Back on track. The stoppers then out of sequence, but 37 in sequence. In second is Josh Burden. And the Australian doing a good job here as 991 Darryl O'Young, a winner last year, comes into the pit lane. The Porsches not having the pace around here, seemingly. So the AOP perhaps affecting the Porsches a little bit. He also looks like he's got some tape stuck to the front of the car, which might have just affected the temperature. We'll see. Stops on his mark. Around runs Aidan Reed, the Australian driver who drove Lamborghinis for the FFF racing team last season, but has elected to go to Porsche this year and has shown good pace over this weekend. So that car 12th when it came in, serves the mandatory stop. New tyres at the back. Rear-wheel drive, rear engine, of course, all the weight on the back in that car. Battle on here. Alex Young still keeping at bay Daisuke Ito. We've got the McLaren in, as you can see, Mok Wen Sun to give way to Richard Wee. The two Singaporean drivers, both of whom raced at Le Mans last year, as well as in the WEC, in the case of Mok Wen Sun, and in the Japanese races in the McLaren at Fuji in Blancpain GT Series Asia. Right, Marciello is going to do another lap, as we expect. The quicker of the two drivers, he will do the lion's share of the stints. Goes over the timing line, and let's see what the margin is. It's growing all the time. There is Josh Burden heading for the pit lane, so Anthony Liu will take over. Josh Burden, good stint. The car he doesn't know that well. I think I'm right in saying it's the first time he's raced one. So Josh Burden into the pit road. And the Absolute Racing team can be very pleased with the Hobart drivers' efforts this weekend. It's made a lot of people sit up and take notice. In he comes. So the Audi is released of its burden, and Anthony Liu scurries round. Seat cushion thrown away, and in gets Anthony Liu. Josh Burden, he's done something to his foot in all of that. Burnt it maybe. The very high temperatures on the brake pedal, but he was hobbling a bit as he went away. That might be one for Ronai to investigate as to why the limp. And so here comes the tyre change now for the Audi. So having seen what Grupper M did yesterday, everybody following suit today. Marciello leads from Matsuda from Mappelli. That's the lead car. 16 seconds is the margin, which in real terms is 11 seconds because of the extra time in the pits needing to be spent. 81 in. That's the BMW of Yokusho to give way now to Takayuki Kinoshita, journalist and TV presenter as well as racer. But Raffaele Marciello just blitzed everybody in this opening stint. He stormed away from them. Now it's going to be a real test of Bryce Bosey in the second stint. I'll probably give him, they will give him, I'm sure, fresh tyres. But Bryce Bosey, let's see what his lap times are going to be relative to those around him. GT4 still shuffling as we get through the pit stop window. Into the lead of Gilles Vanelay. As there down the pit lane to leave is Anthony Liu, 17 behind. is the car of Masika Aida Naokio Chang. Jean-Marc Merlin has just dived in to give way to Frank Yu. And their race leader was about to shout pits, but just goes a little bit deep through turn 15. So Raffaele Marciello stays out for another lap. Through he comes. Goes over the timing line. Gilles Vanelay battles with the BMW now. So the Mercedes finding itself in this mix with 81, which is a lap down, effectively after its pit stop. Kinoshita out the wheel of it. Gilles Vanelay goes through, keeping track position over the BMW, which is important for when he has to make his own pit stop. The second place car is in the pits, Tsugiya Matsuda. There is GT4 then now, where it is Vanelay ahead of Kinoshita on track, with Rengo Reinhold behind them. And 27, Nick Foster, Leo Yi, under investigation for a pit lane infringement. So the 27 Ferrari being investigated. Pit stops coming thick and fast now. Tsugiya Matsuda is in, Daisuke Aito's Ferrari is in, Tim Slade's Ferrari is in, Adley Fong there is in. That's number 7 Audi to give way to Andrew Kim. So the pit window stays open, but not for much longer. Only a couple more minutes or so as the clock ticks on down here at Sepang International Circuit. Round 2, Blancpain GT Series Asia. 29 starters, 28 still circulating, and actually, despite the skirmish at the first corner, no real dramas. We had a few spins and incidents yesterday, but he says finding wood to touch. Today they're all pretty well behaved. In comes number 45 then. So that is for Takuya Shirosaka to give way to Naota Takeda. Takeda will do the second stint in the car, and he clambers on board now. They won the Pro-Am element yesterday. Sorry, the AM element, I should say, yesterday, and driver change completed. Vanelay pits, by the way, out of GT4 as you look at the overall race leader, who's going to have to come in this time, I would have thought, because he'll be out of time otherwise. So Raffaele Marciello up towards turn 15, and will go deep into the corner, aim for pit in, and so the Grupper M Mercedes, and he can still accelerate at this point because he's not yet got to the pit lane line, runs it wide up onto the curb, and the line at pit in for 60 Ks is there. Slows right down, and so in he comes, the team manager of the Nick Foster Leo Yi Ferrari race control after the race. So if a penalty comes, it won't come during the race. It will be a retrospective one, it might just be a finger wagging. So as the Audi wants to leave, the leader comes in, delays the Audi just a little. Tyres again being prepared for Bryce Bosey. And it's going to be all 4 tyres, I think, for the leading car. Fronts are done. And then round 2, back of the car, they will go. So it's the full service, driver and tyres. In has just come Alex Young. So Bryce Bosey takes over the leading car. There is 81 versus treble 6. This is the GT4 fight. Kinoshita versus Russell Ward, and they touch, and the Mercedes gets sideways and gets muscled out of the way. So in all the drama of trying to get back ahead of the BMW, contact made. The Mercedes gets sideways. Here's the replay. They were fighting for 4th in class, and Russell Ward, if he was trying to turn across, wasn't far enough ahead. The BMW was on the line, so curious incident that between the two of them, because it's very rare that you overtake coming out of turn 9 because you're on the wrong line for the next corner. So Russell Ward had a go. Perhaps he just felt he had better momentum out of the corner, but was never fully ahead as the contact was made. Wait to see now whether we get anything on the timing screen saying it's being investigated or not. There is treble 6 back in the race then. Russell Ward, who with Reinhold Rengo won yesterday, the leader back into the race. So even allowing, of course, for the extra 5 seconds, that car should still keep the advantage, and it's on fresh rubber now for Bryce Bosey. There through is 37, Anthony Liu. So let's see what the gap is, and the relative pace there. Bryce Bosey down the hill to Anthony Liu behind him, and that incident between treble 6 and 81 is under investigation. God, who'd have thought that? Pit window is now closed, so everybody has to have made their pit stops, and we'll give you the race order at the end of the next lap when it all settles down. That's the lead gap, you can see. Bryce Bosey well clear of the Audi in second place, which only now is coming up the hill towards us. There it's the, not Mercedes, there Audi, Anthony Liu. So it's going to be a big gap, isn't it? Even allowing for the longer stop that the Mercedes had to make. That 2nd, 3rd, 4th is where the drama may well come. Bryce Bosey down towards turn 7.
We'll get an idea of the gap at the end of this lap, of course, when he comes across the timing line. But Anthony Liu on an out lap there. Philippe Ma keeping Richard Wee at bay. GT3 versus GT4. The Honda 20th, the McLaren is 24th. It's great to have the Honda on the grid. It's a nice shape, it's a different brand. Big flash of the lights there from the number 7 Audi of Andrew Kim. He's under attack from Franki Chang, who's going to go around the outside. Is he? He tries, because that's where he is, but he's got a BMW in the way, so he runs off the road to try and avoid the BM. He's got the Ferrari right up behind him as well of Liu Yi. Franki Chang up the inside, goes ahead of his teammate. Andrew Kim is about to get dive bombed by the Ferrari, because they're completing the move. Out of 9 goes Liu Yi. And Andrew Kim losing 2 places. Franki Chang's on a mission here. I did suggest before the pit stops that car might be one to watch. Runt and Chang, neither of whom we really saw the best of last season, hamstrung by slower co-drivers. Now they're together, they're going very well indeed, but the Audi not the quickest car around here. So down they come towards turn 14, from 4th down to 2nd gear, hard on the brakes, turn right, back on the power, speed building up to 235 kilometres, 240 kilometres an hour. There is 991 Porsche, which is now Aidan Reed running in 15th place. And he puts a lap on the 11 Cayman from GT4, which has got Brian Lee behind the wheel of it. So the lead gap is 13.6 seconds now. Bryce Bosey to Anthony Liu, 13.6. Great battles going on here, as you see 23, which is now Eduardo Liberati keeping Aditya Patel at bay. Then you've got number 5, the Alex Young car next up, but Alex Young has given over to Lim Kyung Wee. There is Anthony Liu in 2nd place, pushing. Can he go quicker than Bryce Bosey? Can he bring down the gap in 22 minutes? That's the question now. Marco Mappelli's car, 3rd, has now been handed over to Hiroshi Hamaguchi. 4th is where you find 18 Nissan, which was Matsuda. It's now Yuki Taniguchi. And so 5th is Franki Chang, 27 seconds away from the race leader. There's 23, which is Eduardo Liberati running in 8th place, taking Aditya Patel with him, 8th and 9th. The Nissan ahead of the Audi. 28, the Tim Slade and Maurice Chen Ferrari under investigation for a pit stop infringement. Aditya Patel keeping Dennis Lind at bay for the moment. Dennis Lind, yesterday's race leader in the opening stint. He's running in 11th, so 9, 10, 11 running together there. Number 45 is leading the AMS in GT3. Naota Takeda at the wheel of the car at the moment. What's going on in GT4? Quick update. Ringo Chong has taken over from Gilles Vanelay and leads the way. So lots happened in the last few laps thanks to the pit stops. These 2 Caymans, though, are inseparable. They're absolutely together again. Different drivers, but they're still fighting. Brian Lee now ahead of Keo Chang. The 2 of them running together, same car, but the 2 Taiwanese drivers running together as they drop down out of turn 5 now. So on the pit wall, check the data, check your phone, and see what's going on in the race. 63 up towards us. This is the Hamaguchi-driven Lamborghini that was 3rd at the start of the lap. Taniguchi behind in the Nissan, looks for a way by. Meantime there is Eduardo Liberati with Aditya Patel and Dennis Lind for company. Right, the lead gap's gone up, 13.6. We had it at 14.1, it is now. So that means that Bryce Bosey is getting away. He's responding to the challenge and pulling clear of the opposition, as there for what away out 8, 9, 10th. They come through. Lind up the inside of Patel for 9th. He goes through. The Lamborghini muscles up the inside. Dennis Lind goes through, and he's not done yet, knowing Dennis the Menace could get another place potentially by the end of the race. Down towards turn 1. GT4 leader behind them. Look, it is the Gilles Vanelay Ringo Chong Mercedes. Don't forget that treble 6, Russell Ward had the extra 15 seconds in the pit, so that gives him a mountain to climb in the 2nd stint here. Philippe Ma under attack. WRT, the Belgian Audi Club engineers, monitor the pace of Aditya Patel's car, down at the moment in 10th spot, and lost a place last time. So the lead gap is growing. Where within the leading group do we have a quicker catching car? It's Franki Chang, but even he isn't lapping as fast as Bryce Bosey, so I think 888 is going to stamp its authority on this race unless Bryce Bosey has a problem. Franki Chang is hustling on. He's 6 seconds back from Taniguchi in the Nissan. There in 2nd place is Liu, who is keeping Hamaguchi at bay. Hamaguchi 3rd is the first one that's really vulnerable, I think, now. Anthony Liu comes downhill. Former Carrera Cup Asia racer. He's racing the Asian Le Mans Championship in a Lamborghini, and also in the Audi Cup in GT Asia, and was a winner here last season in Blancpain GT Series Asia as well. 69 has now got Rick Ewan behind the wheel of it, the Aston Martin that had an incident on the first lap yesterday and a spin also in the race yesterday. And Bryce Bosey comes through behind, looking good. He is the race leader and he's way out on his own here. Over the timing line, that lap was a 2 minutes 5.8. Not as quick as Marciello was doing, but he doesn't need to be. He just needs to make sure the car's ahead, and the gap's up from 13 to 14 now to 15 seconds over Anthony Liu. So the only chance seemingly now for the opposition is if the leading car gets caught up behind some traffic here or gets into strife with back markers getting in the way. Team manager of car number 28 was being summoned at the end of the race. He's now being summoned now. So team manager of the Slade and Chen Ferrari up before the officials, as through goes Bryce Bosey. There is 72 Ringo Chong. Now, he leads in GT4 from the Kinoshita BMW, and the gap is 9 seconds, and there's not much to choose between them, although Ringo Chong is the quicker of the two. It's a new car for him for this season. Comes up towards the timing line, and he goes through now. The race-leading car in GT4, the Mercedes, different team operating this one. It's the Team iRace.win organisation, and that's looking in the garage. The team watching Ringo Chong. Gilles Vanelay thumbs up as he sees himself on the box, and they're not just looking at the pictures, they're looking at the data as well, and the lap times and the sectors to make sure that this car is maintaining a good advantage. There, the much quicker GT3 Porsche booms past on the outside. Craft Bamboo Racing up through the right-hander of turn 4. So the race currently on lap number 20, and still this race-long battle. And this shows you how evenly matched the drivers are, never mind the cars, because no matter who's driving, the two of them are together, side by side. There's the race leader, and we have news now that the Tim Slade Morris Chen Ferrari is getting a 2-second stop-go penalty in front of its pit. That will be for being short on the pit stop. So car 28, it is currently running in 14th place, Morris Chen at the wheel, but it's a 2-second stop-go penalty to make up the downside of the too short pit stop. And if you want to know how you can measure that, it's the timing system times pit in to pit out, and if the beam is broken in under that time, it's reported to the race director, who refers it to the stewards, who can then apply the penalty. But the data is there, so the team can't really argue too much because the timing system has all the evidence. Now, for GT4 second, we've got the battle on here, as you can see. Kinoshita being caught by Russell Ward. This is on track now with Dennis Lind coming up to attack Eduardo Liberati for 8th place. Lind on the outside, Liberati on the inside. Very different shapes of the big bulbous Nissan and the low-line Lamborghini Huracan, which can't quite squeeze through. Or what about turn 2? No, a face full of Nissan meant that Lind has to lift. Aditya Patel is there as well, last year's championship runner-up, clambering up the curb as he tries to find a gap, to no avail though. And there, down the pit lane, comes Morris Chen. So 2 seconds, stop, go. Stop, go. Go, go, go. And there you can see the difference between a pro and an AM. The pro would have been on his toes, ready to blast away. The AM stops and kind of relaxes, isn't ready when the indication is given. 2 seconds is, plus all the drive time, quite a long penalty in this competitive nature, but 2 seconds if he's behind the wheel of the car. Goes fairly quickly. Away goes Morris Chen back into the race, and he will rejoin ahead there of 77. Frank Yu at the wheel now, on this car started by Jean-Marc Merlin. But what a dominant display. And Grupper M is on target for its weekend of weekends in this championship. Last year's champions with Hunter Abbott overall and in Pro-Am, and they had a win, a third Pro-Am win and a GT4 win yesterday, and now it looks like a second victory outright of the weekend. Bryce Bosey, new to the championship, new to the circuit, flashes his lights at the BMW there of Ken Urata, who was out earlier on in the Lamborghini race. Turns out of the hairpin at turn 1 and drops downhill. second spot still Anthony Liu, who's actually now kind of pegged the gap back again at 14 seconds. He's not catching, but he's not falling much further away. This is now for third place. Hamaguchi in the Lamborghini versus Taniguchi in the Nissan, and the two of them run together as they drop down the hill. So number 63 that was in the gravel early on in qualifying yesterday, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, experienced GT racer, Carrera Cup Japan champion, Super GT class champion, and then behind him it is in the Nissan number 18 Yukinori Taniguchi. A very quick ab really, because he's a businessman by income. He founded Yuki's, which is a video game development company that specialises in car games and pro wrestling games. Real diverse portfolio. But having made his money, came into racing, initially in the Super Taikyu series. He's raced in the Japan Le Mans Challenge and selecting World Touring Car events. So Taniguchi now turning his attention to Blancpain GT Series Asia, and going very well indeed as the teams look on from the Pratt perches. They see the clock ticking on down into the last 13 minutes of the race, and Bryce Bosey it is who leads the way. There, 45 Audi, which is still the car to beat within the GT3 AM class, and behind the wheel of it is Naota Takeda. Knows this circuit well because he drove in the 12 hours here a couple of years ago in a TCR Seat, drove in the championship for KCMG last year. And Bryce Bosey then up towards the timing line. New driver to Blancpain GT Series Asia this year, new driver to the car, but from Formula Renault Euro Cup, moved to GT3 racing in Europe. That is Rick Yoon going out wide in the Aston Martin, being negotiated by the traffic. Anthony Liu goes past him, so the Audi picks up track position and goes through. Liu is catching the leader only by a tenth, but he is a little bit nearer. Just up the road ahead is 51, a word for Andrew McPherson, because not only does he drive, but it's his team, AMAT Motorsport, that's come into the championship, the first Australian team into Blancpain GT Series Asia, and having raced Moslers and Porsches, now behind the wheel of Lamborghinis. And look, he's about to come across the inseparable Caymans. Still, you've got the car of Lee ahead of Chang. So Brian Lee just fending off Keo Chang, who was a regular in the series last year. They're trying to squabble and get out of the way of the traffic. Andrew McPherson goes ahead of Rick Yoon right around the outside there. Goes through to Andrew McPherson up into 18th place. Good move that by the Lamborghini. There are plenty of battles going on the track, but there's also, of course, news to catch up on from the pit lane. Let's go and join Renai.
Okay, Josh, pole position. What happened out there? Talk to me about your race.
Initially on the start, I had a good launch, and the torque of the Mercedes was ultimately just too strong. I was a little bit worried about that car coming into that race. That car is super fast around here, and in these conditions, to be fair, it's very hard to compete. Turn one, I slotted into second. I was fighting with a KCMG car. The Nissan on the outside into turn two, and there was a little bit of contact there, but yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. So after that, I just settled into a rhythm and looked ahead and just tried to go as fast as I can to hand over the car to Anthony in the best place possible for him to bring it home. And ultimately, P2 was all it had today in those conditions. I'm happy with my drive.
What are conditions like out there?
Oh, it's really, really hot out there. I had a little cramp in my right foot. Everybody's complaining out there. We don't have cool suits or drinks, so it's quite tough doing 35-minute stints, trying to go 110% as much as you can.
Thank you very much, Josh. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Renai. That answers the question, doesn't it? Remember, we saw Josh Burden hobbling a little bit. I was wondering whether it was a blister or a burn from the pedals. Well, cramp is the answer. Thanks to Josh for confirming it. But it's so hot the cockpits and the pedal boxes get that often you'll hear stories of drivers having the soles of the racing boots stuck to the pedals because they start to melt through the temperatures. But cramp, Josh Burden's issue, and straight away he's on his phone, either to tweet or to text or post photographs of how the day is. Right, back to the battle of the Caymans. Superb fight this. It's gone on race long, and up the inside tries to go Keo Chang, but again Brian Lee fends him off. They're being lapped there by the 7th placed Audi of Andrew Kim, number 7 in 7th, and that for the moment breaks up the Porsche battle, but it won't be for long, I promise you. Lead gap has come up this time, 16 seconds we're now at between Bosey and Liu, and 9 more minutes to go. So the teams are going to have to do some head scratching to get on top of the Mercedes for Buriram. However, this is a circuit that's always been kind to the Mercedes because of the flowing corners and the long straights where the front-engined Mercedes can just boom away from the opposition with all of that grunt. The Aston Martin going through of Rick Yoon and Adrian De Silva. That's another car from the AM class, which has now gained its place back again at the expense of Andrew McPherson. So the team patron losing out. He's got another of the Lambos behind him, which will be, I think I'm right in saying, the Dennis Lind car. Up the inside goes, no, it's wrong, it's the Hamaguchi car, still third. In fact, he's fending off all comers. But Franki Chang, look, he's up into fourth place there in the Audi. There it is, number 3, Franki Chang on this lap has gone through into fourth place at the expense of Taniguchi in the Nissan now. And Taniguchi losing out also because that is Leo Yi in the Ferrari going through up the inside line. So the Nissan 2 down on this 24th lap of the race, 8 minutes to go. Franki Chang now comes up to attack Hamaguchi for third place. There around the outside of Andrew McPherson goes Leo Yi, cuts across for the apex, gets out of the corner nicely. And now makes the run along the straight towards turn 15. A good drive this by Franki Chang, and he's not done yet, although in fairness to Hamaguchi, he has managed to fend off Taniguchi pretty much stint long, and there is the Audi right up behind. Rick Yoon trying to get out of the way. He doesn't want to impede any of the quicker cars. There's such a long line of them. And there is the Aston Martin over the line. He stands his ground, meaning that he doesn't weave in front of anybody, doesn't change direction and get in the way, so everybody can go blasting past on the outside line. Franki Chang wants to complete the manoeuvre before turn 1, and he just does it, desperately late on the brakes. Now, can he get up the inside at turn 3 and try and make a move against the Lamborghini? Watching on from the pit box, the Absolute team, seeing Martin Rum watching Franki Chang at work. And so for third place, remember this, the best battle at the moment overall, it is just Hamaguchi in the Lamborghini ahead of Franki Chang, who's racing Europe, of course, in single-seaters, racing the DTM for a time, racing sports cars, very experienced driver, Franki Chang, and he's right there now alongside, approaching turn 5. But again, he's going to be denied the chance to challenge. Franki Chang slots back in behind Hamaguchi. Cheng Kong Fu, Franki Chang, sprint wide, 2 wheels over the curb onto the grasscrete. Where does he make the move? This is 7 and 8, 1 arc. You've got to be really bold, as Patrick Niederhauser was yesterday, to go around the outside. Very wide goes Franki Chang out of turn 8, and up now towards turn 9, where Hamaguchi defends the inside line. Chang comes across, tries to distract him. If he can force a mistake out of the Lamborghini driver, then he can try and take full advantage of that. To the inside line at 11, no way through there. Over the brow, and now hit the brakes, turn down towards turn 12 at the bottom of the hill. Nose to tail, these two. Third place, the McLaren of Richard Wee gets out of the way on the inside, lets the quicker cars go. The team manager of the second placed car is being told to go to the stewards at the end of the race as well. So Anthony Liu and Josh Burden's car has attracted attention of the race officials, as this is third, fourth and fifth, because not only is Franki Chang looking for a way past the Lamborghini, but they're both being caught by Leo Yi in the Ferrari now. So the two of them hustling on to catch Hamaguchi, who makes that car wide enough to fend off anybody. Through they come once again. Over the timing line they go, and now down towards turn 1. Jean-Marc Merlin and Frank Yu's car just up the road ahead. So he's Bryce Posey ahead of Anthony Liu, then Hamaguchi, Cheng and Yi, third, fourth, fifth. Taniguchi in the Nissan is 6th. 7th is Andrew Kim. This third, fourth and fifth. For how much longer can Hamaguchi hang on to the place? Franki Chang gets the run out of turn 3, climbs the hill, moves slightly to the inside line, has a look for position, but he can't do it, and slots back in then as they work their way through that right and then left. Over the brow, turn 5, the road drops slightly at this point. Franki Chang looks like he's got the speed, doesn't he? Although the Audi hasn't been the fleetest car all weekend, he does look as though he's being held up now by the Lamborghini. They're running to turns 6 and 7 and then on to 8 here, and the Lamborghini goes a little bit wide at a twitch. Chang not really able to take advantage of that because it's a narrow part of the circuit, but again wide up the curve then, coming out of the corner. Hamaguchi makes a slight error. Franki Chang is close but can't find a way past, and that brings Leo Yi right onto his tail. So third, fourth, fifth, 4 minutes to go. Absolutely is one here. And just to prove how BOP works in GT3, 3 different brands. Lamborghini, Audi alongside, Ferrari behind. Chang to the inside at turn 11. Turn 12 at the foot of the hill is the left, and he's on the wrong line. tries to switch sides. Liu Yi also tries to dive up the inside as they approach turn 13. And Chang needs to duck up the inside now if at all possible. He goes for the outside line. The danger is the door's open against Liu Yi here, who will get up the inside of him as Chang got better drive out of the corner. They're still overlapping, aren't they? And now what happens at turn 15? Chang trying to get a toe maybe, but I don't think he's going to be able to do so. Liu Yi is alongside him. Chang's got the inside line. Chang should be able to retake his 4th place as they break for the hairpin, and he does, but they've lost a length or two against the Lamborghini. The Audi goes wide. Liu Yi tries to duck back up on the inside, coming out of 15 towards the line, but he can't do it. Chang hangs on. 3 more minutes to go, and a flying lap is over 2 minutes long. Down to turn 1. When are we going to get 2 more laps out of the race now? Into the braking area at turn 1 they go. Martin Rubb can hardly bring himself to watch now, desperate for a podium, a first podium in Blancpain GT Series Asia, and it all rests on Franki Chang defending and attacking at the same time. Life in that number 3 Audi, there it is very tough indeed. Up the hill they go. Turn 4 beckons, and here Hamaguchi has managed to break away by a couple of lengths, but Franki Chang closes the gap down again. Behind them, you've got Taniguchi 6th in the Nissan. Could he get back into the mix here before the end? 7th is Andrew Kim. They're busy battling as well, in fact, so 6th and 7th, nose to tail on what I reckon is going to be the penultimate lap of the race. Leaders go through, 2.5 on the clock, 2.5 minutes to go. There's the race leader. So Bryce Bosey it is, well clear. 22 seconds to the good now over Anthony Liu, who in turn is 14 seconds ahead of Hamaguchi. If they could get past him, they might be able to have caught the 2nd place car, but now it's going to be too late in the race. Bryce Bosey then, a very impressive drive by him, a very impressive effort by Raffaele Marciello early on, and Grupper M annihilates the opposition. No argument about that. There for 2nd is Anthony Liu, and the leader is about to go through and start the last lap of the race. There's less than a lap time left in the race now. So the leading car is on its last lap. There it is, down at turn 1. Bryce Bosey, the race leader, waiting to see where 2nd is. There, Anthony Liu, all on his own still. Through he comes for 2nd spot onto the last lap. Really in no man's land because he's not catching and he's not being caught by the battle pack behind. So who is going to be 3rd? It's still Hamaguchi from Chang when we last looked. There is the race leader. There is the race leading team studying all the data and also trying to keep out of the heat. So Bryce Bosey on target for a win. Hamaguchi is still 3rd. Dennis Lind is up to 7th at the expense of Andrew Kim, incidentally. So 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, still squabbling. Bryce Bosey, though, for the last time, up towards turns 7 and 8. Through he comes. And now almost at the end of perhaps the perfect drive. I'm struggling to think of one quite so dominant by both drivers in a Blancpain GT Series Asia race. Anthony Liu and Josh Burden on target for 2nd place, the best of the Audis, and Josh Burden has certainly proved his money this weekend. And that is Maurice Chen off the road. They got a stop-go penalty, remember. And now Maurice Chen at turn 9 has overshot and gone wide. He's back on track as the leader has only a couple of corners to go. And this is the first of them. Through turn 14 he comes. He's on the power, and now 1 more hairpin to go. What a weekend for Grupper M. What a weekend for this team. 3rd yesterday, 1st today, championship leaders. They will win overall, and they will win Pro-Am as well, making it a double in Pro-Am for the weekend. The trophies, and therefore the excess baggage, will stack up for Grupper M and for Raffaele Marciello and Bryce Bosey, who come through to win round 2 of Blancpain GT Series Asia here at Sepang, and win in style. It's a long wait before anybody else will come into view for 2nd place. It should be the Audi of Anthony Liu and Josh Burden. There it is, on target for 2nd spot. Into the left-hand hairpin they come. The celebrations have already started for Kenny Chen's team. Frustrated Patrick Niederhauser in the background, yesterday's winner. There, slowly across the line, Anthony Liu. Was that a problem, or was he just biding his time, bringing the car home safe and sound for 2nd place? Either way, it's 2nd for Liu and for Josh Burden. But now we need to see who's going to be 3rd. Look at this, as 1 across the line.
Hamaguchi just ahead of Cheng, just ahead of Yi, just ahead of Lin, who gets 6th on the last lap. Taniguchi down in 7th, 8th Kim, 9th Liberati, and 10th in the background it was Aditya Patel. GT4 nose to tail as they make their way up towards the timing line. Ringo Chong just ahead of Kinoshita. 1/10 of a second between those two. The Mercedes is the winning car, but only just. Another great battle we've had in GT4, and Ringo Chong staying ahead as Raffaele Marciello takes the plaudits. If you go back a decade, Group M ran Porsches. It spent a few years away from the sport, was reformed. A lot of hard work by Tim Sungton behind the scenes last year to bring it back into top-line GT competition, and was the championship winning team with Hunter Abbott last year in Blancpain GT Series Asia. And there, the iRace.win team, new team for this season, so a great way to start with a win for Gilles Vannelet and Ringo Chong. Ringo Chong, as you saw on the grid, is a very jolly character, and he normally enlivens any press conference because rarely can he be found without a smile on his face. Now that he's been a winner, I would imagine he's going to be absolutely elated with that result, especially given that it's first time out in the Mercedes. And last year he had just the one win, yes, at the Zhejiang event at the end of the season. So he will no doubt be over the moon with that result. Bryce Bosey, however, will be delighted with his victory in GT3 and, of course, a second Pro-Am victory of the weekend. So the winning drivers will very shortly make their way to Parc Fermé. We'll try and grab a few before they are released up to the podium. And the Group M team celebrating. Mercedes as a brand has had the perfect weekend, winning just about everything. GT3, GT4, both races. So overall, there is the winning car. 888, Bryce Bosey, Raffaele Marciello, second for Audi, Anthony Liu and Josh Burden, and third for Lamborghini, Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli. Pro-Am, again, Bosey and Marciello the winners, second, Liu and Burden, and third, Hamaguchi and Mappelli. In the AMs, or the silver, you have a win for Franki Chang and Martin Rum in the silvers. 27 second of the silvers, which was Leo Yi and Nick Foster, and then third silver, Dennis Lind and Martin Kodrich. Then you get to the GT3 AMs, and that was a win for, just like yesterday, Ryota Takeda and Takuya Shirosaka. Second of the GT3 AMs were Rick Yoon and Adrian De Silva in the Aston Martin. Third, Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. And then you get to GT4, where it was Ringo Chong and Gilles Vannelet, the winners, ahead of the BMW of Kinoshita and Jukushu. And third was yesterday's winning combination of Russell Ward and Reinhold Renger. So there'll be podiums for overall and Pro-Am, because it's one and the same, and also for AM and GT4. So 3 podiums today rather than 4. And there is a delighted Gilles Vannelet already out of the car. Will be Ringo Chong in a moment. He's under the belt, but he's not quite ready, Ringo Chong, to hop out. But as I say, a good effort put in by him to take the class in the race. So very shortly, we'll have the winning drivers present in Parc Fermé. And Bryce Bosey, we heard from on the grid. There is Ringo Chong and Gilles Vannelet, who didn't know each other until the start of the weekend, but they have become certainly now firm friends after a race win. And Johan Go there just going out of shot, the SRO Championship assistant, making sure the drivers have got the regulation caps for the podium and they know that they have to get to the podium for the trophies. Other teams that aren't required for Parc Fermé push the cars to the garage, ready for the load-up process. Next stop for Blancpain GT Series Asia, Thailand in May. From there, we move to Suzuka and then Fuji, and then 2 trips to China at the end of the season. Well, what a result for the Group M team. Let's go and join the celebrations, and let's join Renai.
Congratulations. How was crossing that finish line?
Oh, that was perfect. That was perfect. It was almost finishing a perfect weekend. We were up front the whole weekend. We did a quite good learning curve over the test days and now also. And yeah, Raffaele did a perfect start, perfect first stint, and I just had to finish it. So perfect for us.
A dominant win there.
Yeah, we had a good race. I mean, it's only the beginning of the championship, but I mean, we can be proud for like what we did. And I took my revenge compared last year because I started last every race. So I mean, it's a good start of the championship.
Sepang does very well with you, doesn't it?
I don't know. We'll see the other race if they suit me well as well. So we'll see.
Congratulations. Over to you, Dave.
Thanks, Renai. Well done to Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marchiello then as the race winners. And what a margin it was in the end, 26 seconds. Now, we saw Anthony Liu struggling a little bit. Certainly he was slow over the line. I just wonder whether it was a problem with the car or whether it was him tiring in the very, very high temperatures or just being ultra conservative at the end because he had 15 seconds in hand. And is that perhaps why the margin was flattered a little bit? If it was a car problem, then well done Anthony Liu for bringing it home. If he was struggling in the heat, it's no disgrace because it is desperately hot out there. But second place is still a good result and the best of the Audis, which perhaps wasn't what you might have anticipated against the opposition. We'll find out whether he was struggling towards the end because Anthony Liu and Josh Burden are with Renai.
Okay, Anthony, how did your race go? Were you struggling at the end there?
A bit, yeah. We have overall this whole weekend our car has been up and down. But apart from Josh's qualifying Q2 lap, I think our handling has been off the whole entire weekend. So yeah.
Okay, Josh, we spoke to you earlier about the difficulties. How do you move forward from this?
We go back and we do our homework on our race pace, find out why it wasn't quite as fast as the other car that was in front of us, and yeah, we just come out strong in Thailand. I think Thailand will suit our car a little bit better than these conditions. I'm very grateful to be here. Anthony, Absolute Racing, I'm very happy.
Okay, congratulations. We'll see them in Thailand.
We will indeed, and they will be quick, no doubt. And Josh Burden, with that pole position, can be well proud of his weekend. Lots of people pre the weekend were saying, who is Josh Burden? Well, they now know he's another very quick young Australian driver, and he'll be on the podium very shortly as well as we get ready for the 3 podium ceremonies here. And third to Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli. A good result in the Lamborghini, the Huracan that comes through then to take third place overall. Drivers, as I say, will be heading for the podium in a few moments' time, but we'll try and catch up on the Lamborghini crew first of all, because Renai has been hard at work and she's grabbed the Lambo drivers in Parc Fermé.
Hiroshi, was it hot enough out there for you?
Yes, sure, and I'm so proud of myself and my team to be on the podium on overall, though I'm a gentleman driver, and thanks to my team and the Markov, fantastic start. Fantastic driving, and he managed the tire very well, and he came in P3.
Oh yeah, definitely Hiroshi and the team did a good job. I tried my best. This weekend was not so good for us, but then we finished on high, so hopefully next one will be much better.
Okay, all the best. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Well done then to the third placed team, and Hiroshi Hamaguchi, who started his weekend in earnest in the qualifying session with an indiscretion into the gravel, a big spin, can look back with some pride on that result. And bear in mind, as a gentleman racer, how many stars he had to fend off in that stint. He had them all stacked up behind him, all crawling all over the back of him. And yet he didn't crack under the pressure. He managed to keep them all at bay for that second stint. Franki Chang, Leo Yi, Dennis Lind, Taniguchi, Kim, Liberati, Patel, all in that line of cars behind him, and yet he didn't put a wheel wrong and let any of them by. So the drivers then for the podiums next, and the Buriram circuit, very different configuration from here, so it may well be that the Mercedes has had its moment of glory because other circuits will suit other cars. We go from Thailand, as I was saying earlier, to the 2 visits to Japan, and then Shanghai, and a new venue for this year, Ningbo, at the end of the year, replacing Zhejiang, which was an interesting venue last year, but a rather wet one. Although, to be fair, it rained in Shanghai and Fuji. So the drivers have got a new challenge at the end of this season. So for Blancpain GT Series Asia, a great weekend, and it puts them up well in the championship for the race winners, Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marchiello, Anthony Liu and Josh Burden second from Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli. Franki Chang and Martin Rump, 4th from Leo Yi and Nick Foster. Dennis Lind and Martin Kodrick, 6th. Go a little bit further down. Last year's runners-up, Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert, 10th in today's race. And the best of the GT3 Porsche is only 12th out of Sandy Stuvik and Aidan Reid. And Shea Davis. Then you have further down the order the best of the GT4 contingent coming home in 21st, Ringo Chong and Gilles Vanelay. So Mercedes taking 2 out of 2, but different cars in each class. GT3 win yesterday, GT4 win yesterday, but a different car in each case today. Bryce Bosey, Raffaele Marciello winning in GT3, and Ringo Chong and Gilles Vanelay coming out on top in GT4. So we will have the drivers to the podium very shortly. And first podium is going to be for both overall and Pro-Am. So those drivers are on their way. And as soon as everyone's happy, then they can be called forward onto the podium itself. The teams are all congregating at the foot of the race control building. And we will move, say, from here to Thailand in a month's time. The GT3 teams, very, very busy, many operating programs across Europe as well as Asia. So it's a busy season for them. And for the drivers, it's a different track most weekends. A number of them will be from here off to Monza next weekend for the opening endurance round of the Blancpain GT Series, the European equivalent. People like Dennis Lind, for example, racing there in the Super Trofeo rather than in GT, but another weekend, another flight and another circuit to go to. Many of the engineers the same. Not all of them are exclusively to the teams in this championship. They do other jobs. I'm looking down into the pit lane and see people that work one weekend in the British Touring Car Championship, another weekend in Blancpain GT Series Asia. So everybody being kept busy. And this championship, at only its 2nd season, has been a big hit indeed. It's been a very impressive start to the championship's history, and we've had some excellent racing and more of the same to come. What's particularly impressive is how good GT4 has been this weekend, with some fierce racing and some very good drivers, and the way that the manufacturers are responding to the category, it means it's going to go from strength to strength, that's for sure. So we will move quickly to the podiums because the drivers are ready, and the overall and Pro-Am top 3, one and the same, will be brought forward in a moment for the trophies at the end of round 2 of Blancpain GT Series Asia.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your podium for race 2, the Blancpain GT Series Asia season opener from Sepang International Circuit. Your winners for the overall and the Pro-Am. In 3rd place in car number 63, warm welcome to Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Marco Mappelli. In 2nd place, car number 37, Anthony Liu and Josh Burden. And your winners in 1st place, car number 888, Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello.
Outcome, the delighted top 2, Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello.
Presenting the trophies is Matteo Braga, Circuit Activities Manager for Pirelli Tyres.
The Pirelli tyres have worked hard in these very hot conditions, but a free, clear race, devoid of any interruptions of yellows or safety cars. The 2nd place trophies are given, the 3rd already awarded, and there for the winners, you have a delighted Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello.
And presenting the Czechs, Benjamin Franasovici from SRO.
Czechs go to the season-long entrance. There are teams that come and do local races, but if you are registered for the championship, then you get the prize money this way.
Presenting the trophies for the Pro-Am, Benjamin Franasovici.
They've had their overall trophies, and because it's the same top 3, Benjamin Franasovici on double duty here to give the Pro-Am trophies as well. Saves them having to leave the podium and come back. And there will also be for the Pro-Am winners there, Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello.
Blancpain clock.
The Blancpain clock. So Bryce
Time
Bosey.
for a photo, guys.
Bryce Bosey gets 2 of those this weekend.
One more photo. Champagne.
So the drivers, having posed for the photographs, have the champagne in hand. They've got a press conference to dash to next. And the noise you heard in the background a moment ago was the pit lane opening for the next race, because it's a busy, busy day here at Sepang International Circuit. So the champagne sprayed by race winners Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello. Now the podium will be dressed, ready for the GT3 AM drivers. The winning cars all at the foot of race control for Parc Fermé conditions. And the drivers leave the podium. Someone's forgotten their check, haven't they? But the podium is dressed, ready now for the AMs, where 2 out of 2 for Naota Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka for the KCMG Audi team is the story of the weekend. Background, you can see the Formula 4 Southeast Asia drivers making their way to the grid, 1 or 2 of whom we might well see in a Blancpain grid before much longer. One of the drivers in that, in fact, was in Blancpain last year. Nazim Asman did an invitation class outing here at the start of the season. However, we turn our attention to the results of today's Blancpain GT Asia race, and Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter for third are standing by, as are Adrian De Silva and Rick Yoon. Let's join her and I again. Out come Andrew McPherson and Ben Porter. They take third. Second goes to Adrian De Silva and Rick Yoon, who had dramas yesterday, but a trouble-free race today. Rick Yoon still in his Audi overalls because he's a regular in the Audi Cup.
Car number 45, Naota Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka.
And Naota Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka are the class winners once again in the AM category. Is Takeda-san, who makes his way to the top step of the podium. And
special guest today, our international action star, representing iRace win, Morgan Benoit, presenting the trophies.
The trophies from Morgan Benoit, from International Action Star, representing iRace.win. Of course, the team resplendent on the GT4 winning Mercedes. So, trophies presented. For third, for second, and yet again, winners in the AM class. 2 out of 2 for Naota Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka. That is how you sign off a trophy presentation.
Incredible moves, thank you, Morgan. That was fantastic.
Morgan Benoit then. Certainly not backward at coming forward when he's on a Blancpain podium. Didn't notice Benjamin Franacevici from SRO doing that, which is desperately disappointing. So the drivers pose for the photographs. And can anybody in the AM category stop the Audi of a very, very happy and a great character too that he is, Naota Takeda, along with Takuya Shirasaka. Champagne to be sprayed at the end of the AM class podium in Blancpain GT Series Asia. Round 2 here at Sepang. A win in the AM class for Naota Takeda and Takuya Shirasaka. So one more podium to go, and that is going to be Russell Ward and Reinhold Renger for third. Takayuki Kinoshita, Sanako Yokosho for second, and Ringo Chong and Gilles Vandelay, the winners in GT4. Podium ready, and we await the drivers.
For the GT4 class,
Out they come.
third place,
with third. Yesterday's winners, despite that spin that they had, Russell Ward and Reinhold Renger step forward for third place.
In second place,
second goes to
81,
Takuya Kinoshita and Sanako Jokushu. Then for top step.
And your winners in first place in car number 72, Ringo Chong and Jules Vanillé.
Ringo Chong and Gilles Vanillé step forward. As delighted Ringo Chong, only his second class win in Blancpain GT Series Asia, and his first, of course, with the iRace.win Mercedes squad.
To invite Tansri Azman Yahya, chairman of SIC, to present the trophies.
Gilles Vanillé, first time out in the championship. Good weekend for him. So the trophies presented. For third, for second. Then it will be to race winners Ringo Chong and Gilles Vanillé.
And presenting the checks, Anthony Comas from SRO.
The checks presented to the top three teams by Anthony Comas from SRO. $1,500 for third in GT4, $2,500 to second, and $3,500 to the category winners, which should keep them in beer overnight. Just have the celebrations. They all get together now for the photographs, and then at their feet is the champagne.
Champagne.
This is where the trophy girls need to disappear at the end of the GT4 podium. So Mercedes versus BMW it has been today. McLaren and Porsche with a bit of work to do at the end of the GT4 race within Blancpain GT Series Asia. But a great race it was for Gruppa M, and a win for Raffaele Marciello and Bryce Bosey in race 2 here at Sepang. So for the winning drivers, the podium's complete, and we look forward to rounds 3 and 4 in Thailand in a month's time. Let's catch up on the highlights then of this second Blancpain GT Series Asia race of the weekend. Pole position being taken by Josh Burden in the Audi, and as the cars accelerated away from the line, Josh Burden it was versus Raffaele Marciello, and it was Marciello on the outside line who made the best start. Josh Burden had to try and defend on the run in towards the first corner to prevent the Nissan from squeezing up the inside. In the end, he lost out, but was able to fight back over the opening corners. But in the body of the field, through the tight turns 1 and 2, there was drama. Bodywork flew, and it was from Patrick Niederhauser's car. Damaged suspension and a punctured tyre effectively put them out of the race on the spot, although they limped as far as the pit lane. And so, up front, it meant the race leader pulled clear. Patrick Niederhauser, though, was a retirement. Big disappointment for him at the end of just the opening lap of the race. The car did go out and have an explore, but in the end, it only did 3 laps in total. So, with the opposition scrapping amongst themselves, Bryce Bosey pulled away up front, and it was Reinhold Renger, I should say, who was leading in GT4 with Gilles Vanillé tucked up behind him. The two Mercedes battling early on. This was what happened at turn 1 to cause the demise, really, of the Mercedes. The contact was already there. Martin Rump was also delayed in the number 3 Audi going wide, and although Niederhauser went back out, it was to no avail. The sister car up front, though, was building the lead all the time, and the battle was on in GT4, where it was still Reinhold Renger keeping at bay Gilles Vanillé with the BMW, the new M4 GT4 in contention as well. Porsche and McLaren falling back over the opening few laps of the race. Making his way up into second spot, Josh Burden, going well in the Audi, ready to hang over to Anthony Liu, and as the pit stop window opened, that car was in, ready for the driver change. Drama in GT4 as the Mercedes got all crossed up around the front of the BMW. They were battling for position, and the car delayed, but still fought back for a class podium result in the end. Martin Kodrich lost out to number 23 Nissan as a hard-charging Eduardo Liberati got up the inside. That was the battle that raged on. Aditya Patel running with them as well. Dennis Lind would take over number 19 and make it fly late in the race. Liu Yi also gaining ground as the race came towards the end of the hour. Also hustling on was a hard-charging Franki Chang, but he couldn't quite find a way past Hiroshi Hamaguchi for third place. They were both being caught by Liu Yi as the cars accelerated their way over the timing line. Franki Chang hard at work. Martin Rump could hardly watch. He was determined to get a first ever Blancpain GT Series Asia podium, but it was out of his hands. Chang needed to find a way past Hamaguchi, as up front it was Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello on target for a dominant win as the car turned its way out of the final corner, blasted across the line, victorious. And so the car came through to score race honours. In GT4, Gilles Vanelay was the winner, along with Ringo Chong, and an excellent job done by the new iRace.win team. But for Group M, it was honours for Bryce Bosey and Raffaele Marciello, Gilles Vanelay and Ringo Chong, a new combination of drivers like Marciello and Bosey coming through as the winners within GT3 and GT4 respectively. So, Blancpain GT Series Asia produces plenty of drama here at Sepang International Circuit, and there's a lot more to come over the course of the season. 2 races down, 10 to go. Thailand, Japan and China all on the list of countries to visit before the end of the season. And on the evidence of this weekend, Mercedes is the brand in charge. They're going to have work to do, the rest of them, to catch up, although no doubt the BOP will make things a little different for other circuits. We'll look forward to seeing how the competition continues in a few weeks' time in Thailand. And of course, there's also to look for a number of drivers that have scored badly this weekend, like, for example, even though they had that win, Niederhauser and Bastian, no points in race 2, and last year's championship runners-up, Aditya Patel and Mitch Gilbert, didn't finish yesterday's race because the water pipe came off, and so they are on the back foot for points as well. A lot of teams then, a lot of drivers with work to do in the championship as we head to the next round of Blancpain GT Series Asia. But from a hot and sunny Sepang for now, from Ranaima 2 and David Addison, thanks for your company this weekend. We'll see you next time. It's bye-bye.